Lonely Monk Productions.
What's up, kids? It's your pal Nate, and I got a bonus episode for you today. But before we get to that, a quick programming reminder. Guys, this Saturday, December 23rd, is 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 4. That's right. Our annual ukulele holiday sing-along is back at 8 p.m., streaming on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and all of the socials. So make sure you join us for that, 8 p.m. It's going to be a great time. I got some holiday classics all lined up for you. Plus, we got some guests that are going to stop by. So it's super exciting. 8 p.m., December 23rd, Saturday night, 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 4. But say you miss it. Say you can't make it. Well, fear not. First of all, it'll be available on all of the streaming sites. It'll be on YouTube and Facebook for a while, so you can catch it after it's already aired. But if you even missed those, next Monday, well, it's Christmas. But more so than that, this episode, this live stream, will be released on this podcast feed. So if you're subscribed, it's coming right to you anyway. Enjoy. And then the week after that is January 1st, and that'll be New Year's Day. And for that, we're going to do one final episode of this season, and that's just going to be our year-end recap to cap off the season finale. And then I'm going to take a little break, and I hope you don't mind. But so that's what we got coming up, the next two episodes. So Saturday, December 23rd, 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 4. Then Monday, Christmas Day, 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 4. It comes out on the podcast feed. And then the week after that, New Year's Day, we have our year-end review. All right, so today's bonus episode, I'm so excited to bring to you. I was lucky enough to join my friend Dan Drago from the 25 O'Clock podcast, and the two of us, we went on Your Next Favorite Band podcast live stream, hosted by our pal Phil Reese. All right. And we got to break down WXPN's 885 Greatest Songs by Women countdown. And it was an awesome hang. I am so excited to bring it to you today. And so let me stop talking and let me bring it to you. And I hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments or leave a review. Follow us on the socials. Hit me up. Do something like that. Tell me what you think. Because guys, this was a lot of fun, and we hope to do a bunch more like this in the future. So enjoy, sit back, and hopefully I'll see you on Saturday. All right. Till next time, everybody. No, not yet. Listen to this. Then, till next time, everybody. Blue skies and all that. All right. Enjoy.
And the goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple feelings, and boom, you got a sound.
I remember this one time. I had been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to Your Next Favorite Band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, we have a triple collabo. Next Fave Band, 25 O'Clock Pod, and Yo, That's My Jawn talk about the 885 greatest songs by women as voted on by the listeners of WXPN. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese. I am joined by two guest co-hosts, Dan Drago of the 25 O'Clock Pod and Nate Johnny Mitchell Runkle of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. And you are listening to Your Next Favorite Band. Welcome to the show, Dan and Nate. This is wonderful.
It's good to be here again.
We are finally formed together like the Gladiator Voltron 2, the oft forgot 3 robot Voltron.
That is true. I didn't think about that one. It's often a 5, but we only got 3 of us, and what a special night it is. I mean, I really appreciate you all, agreeing to this. I think this is super fun to be able to capture the moment. I mean, XPN does these amazing lists, and we all vote on some things, and then they kind of aggregate it all and put it out there. And for the last week, we've been hearing the 885 greatest songs by women as voted on by the listeners.
It's outstanding. I was fortunate enough to be in the car today doing stuff, and I caught the last like 17 or 18, which was cool. I didn't expect to be doing that, so I got to hear the number 1.
I did not miss a song today. I got to make it all the way straight through.
You've been very committed the entire time. I got to be honest. You've been also quite active on the socials to support things.
Yeah, it's an obsession. These countdowns are exciting to me. I'll be honest with you. Shout out to the XBzenio Caucus. We had a fantasy draft of songs, and we actually drafted. I came in second place, but shout out to Ross, who won our fantasy draft. Just absolutely crushed it by I want to say 12 points or something.
Is that Ross Curie, by the way?
That is.
All right. So he is actually listening, and he has said he is just here to troll Nate.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Good. Someone needs to be.
I rescind my shout out then.
Yes. And
you just made me, Nate, you just made me regret getting out of the X Twitter game earlier this year. I would have I'm not a sports guy, but I am all about the statistical aspect of sports, while not the actual act of sports. But Nate and I talked backstage that we are both kind of into baseball, and we're both big Fish fans. So song stats and all that is in our blood.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And then Ross also enjoyed my Lorena McKennitt shirt, which is an apropos choice. You have no idea. You'll see where she comes in my top 10 in a little bit. But I figured it was important at the top here to really kind of share a little bit of detail behind each one of our shows, since people might be tuning in who don't know about the other 2, or maybe 2 out of the 3. And in the spirit of the Christmas carol, we have some key episodes to share that may give a window into what we're all about. So I will play the role of the Ghost of Christmas Past, because this past Sunday I had a show, our special year-end, which is the Winter Wonder Jam. And we have a day that we like to bring together where we invite back anybody who was a guest on the show to submit music, who it could be holiday, it could be seasonal, meaning winter, it could be year-end, it could be Thanksgiving. But basically, people who have been guests throughout the calendar year can submit a message and a song, and we play it, and we also raise money for a local homeless shelter. So you can see here all the different people who were part of it. And then some of the people kind of headlined the day. So the Tisberries and Fig for a Kiss both headlined. I have some pictures here. This is Tyler from the Tisberries. He was playing some nice acoustic music for us. And then that's Fig for a Kiss, an amazing Celtic trio here from Bethlehem. Really kind of treated us to thing. And there was even an all-star jam at the moment where Tyler joined the stage with Fig for a Kiss. Everybody played Silent Night. It was a great way to kind of wrap things up. I had one thing here I wanted to share. We did a little trailer. This will give you a little flavor for kind of what it felt like for the day, and you can kind of get a better sense you can see who was all part of it. These were different people who had been guests on the show. Seven Horse, which is the music in the background. Rachel Anna Dobkin, Bandits on the Run. And then these are some clips from the actual thing. So Cliff Knotts and Christina Lees gave us some Christmas music. They were phenomenal. One of them was Holiday by Madonna, which obviously is an amazing, there's Clover. Dan, you were the guest host on that one.
I dig her.
Her rendition was amazing. Patty Pershela was also an incredible version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It was a big popular one there. Shug, obviously, Shug Daniels is a great addition to anything. Did an amazing version of Eartha Kitt's Santa Baby.
With a smile, a kiss, and a hug.
Our son, the voice of reason from Gangsta Grass, Gabriel Sturban. Just these amazing people. There's Emily Drinker. She just was your recent episode for you
this week. Yeah.
They did an awesome version. Ron Worthy. Caroline was also from the area of New Jersey. And then we even Polyphonic Spree, which was our most recent episode. Tim DeLauder came on and was able to give us some information on their latest release, and then allowed us to use some of their music. They do a great holiday extravaganza down in Dallas, where they're from, and I don't know, it's just a little special day that we've started to create a little bit annual event around. And people were sending me pictures of them listening to us on their big screen TVs in their living rooms. I was like feeling a little bit, and then Dan, there was yours.
It's my house. Hey,
it's yours. You did an amazing post. I can't thank you enough for that. And then the one thing I did want to ask about a little bit was Demonic Frosty.
So that Frosty the Snowman has been a holiday fixture in my life since before I was born. And I was just telling my wife this story in the car because she's the one who sort of dubbed it Demonic Frosty, because at one point he had a much redder light in him, and it was quite demonic. When I moved out of the house for real, I think when I moved to Philadelphia, my mother asked me, she says, "Is there anything of the house that you want to take with you? You know, you're an adult now, you're out on your own." And without, like, I just go, Frosty lamp. Like, immediately. Like, she's like, "Wow, you didn't have to think about that." I'm like, Frosty lamp. And so Frosty lamp has been in my possession since my mid-20s. There was a period where I misplaced it and accused every single family member of somehow sneaking into my old apartment and taking it, which they don't live here. That's impossible. I was really just
Demonic Frosty is controlling your thoughts.
It's possible. Yeah, but no, Frosty is with us forever. I love that lamp.
One more look at this, just so you can't get that out of your nightmares. And so we're now going to move to the Ghost of Christmas Present, which is Nate, because he's got an episode coming up real soon here. And you're going to think this might be just equally as demonic. Here's the promo image, which you're welcome for this one. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yipes. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do I know you? Jeez.
So I understand.
This might set off the copyright and trademark bots right here.
No, this is fair use. This is transformative.
That's saying something. That's a label for sure.
I understand how terrifying this image is, but you should see it in motion, because I actually have it as an animated GIF as well.
I'm becoming used to it as I just stare at it longer. So good job.
I love that you went with the one that had a little more 5 o'clock shadow too. That's phenomenal.
Always.
And those of you who might be just listening, he took the Mariah Carey image and put his face on it. Anyway, sorry, Nate.
No, it's good. So this is the fourth "'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas," subtitled "All I Want for Christmas Is Uke." And what it is it's a ukulele sing-along that I do every Christmas time, where I just kind of sit in my basement down here, play some ukulele for people. It started during the quarantine in 2020. And the reason I did it was solely just so I could do "I'll Be Home for Christmas," so that I could end with the line, "Because we're quarantined." And it's literally just for that pun that this all exists. But each year I try to kind of
it's a lot of work.
So this year, there's some new additions to it. First of all, we've got the newest addition to my household, which is the banjo-lele. So we're gonna sonically change the ukulele up a little bit. We got some variety. And then maybe some guests pop by. Maybe some people jump in, like an old we got snowed in, and some guests showed up. But yeah, so that's the 23rd at 8. It'll be streaming on the socials, Facebook, YouTube, and all that good stuff. So
yeah, so that's a promo for that one. Give maybe a little bit more background on your actual show, and then so people might want to tune in and subscribe.
Yeah, so Yo, That's My Jawn, if you're not familiar, especially if you're not from the Philly area, if you don't know, Jawn is a word that you can use to mean
For
anything, anything you want it to be. As my good friend Kevin Allison once said, Philadelphians use the word Jawn like Smurfs use the word Smurf. And it's a very apt description. But essentially, I just interview musicians and creatives with a kind of Philly bend to it, but not exclusively. About their passions and their life in whatever their creativity is. And then every episode ends with a little thing I like to call the Jauntlet, which is just a 20-song run of questions that every guest has to go through. And if you're curious to what that is, if you go to the Yo, That's My Jawn YouTube channel, you can find me taking the Jauntlet by myself, being interviewed by my friend Petey back here. Petey is my Muppet, and Petey put me through the Jauntlet one time.
Wow.
So there you go.
I'm actually going to check that out. I did not know that existed. The masturbatory Jauntlet.
Yes, exactly. I did it for my birthday too, just to make it just completely the grossest thing in the world.
There you go. And then now let's move to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, or whatever that is. The Dan Drago 25 O'Clock Pod. You have a very special episode coming up.
Oh yeah, episode 300 is coming up on January 16th. 300.
Congratulations.
I'm tired of making the joke. People are tired of hearing the joke. No one is more surprised by this than I am. Like,
that's amazing. Super great.
You ever imagine making 300 of anything? Like, no, seriously.
No, you're right. Absolutely right.
300 is a lot. When I did episode 200, that was a milestone. I got to talk to Helen Light, who formerly of WXPN, basically the beginner of Philly local,
Sure.
at least on XPN and breaking out into a national audience. If you want to trace back why Philadelphia in the last 10 or 15 years has been more and more in the national music conversation, I think it's people like Helen, and all the other artists that I interview on the show as well. I was just, I don't know, man, just right place, right time, and stubborn enough just to keep going all the way to 300, regardless of what anyone said.
Phil, I don't know how you feel, but I like to think of Dan as my podcast big brother. He's like my big bro in podcasting, and that's literally, and I'm literally what, like 3 or 4 years older than you or something.
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
But still, that's my big bro. 300 is huge, man, and congrats on that.
I don't think the weight of it is truly sunk in yet, and I think even after I do it, I don't think the weight will truly sink in. That's just kind of how it goes, especially, I mean, all three of us here know this. When you're putting out a show week after week, it's just like you can't rest for too long. You're just like, all right, cool, great show.
Oh, right.
On to the next one.
Right, do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. So, but I have my guest. I have it lined up. I have not cut the interview yet, but I am very, very excited about this guest, and I think everyone else is going to be excited too. I will not reveal. I might start giving clues, or I might even talk about it the week before, but I very superstitious, and I don't like to name the child before it's born. So I don't want to.
Well, we probably could. It's not Joni Mitchell.
No,
Okay.
no, because she's not from Philadelphia.
Right. Well, that's true. That's good to be, committed to your brand.
Yeah. No, I would love to
imagine
Joni
Joni's
Mitchell,
like, I'll do it, Dan. Nope, sorry.
No. You would be surprised. Occasionally people have been like, what about this person? I'm like, that is a very known person, and I like that person very much. Unfortunately, that makes no sense.
Send them my way. I'm a whore.
Well, that's the thing. And then so I have people like you and Phil to just be like, but I know these two guys.
Yeah. No, right. Yeah, I'm regionally agnostic. But a little description about your show, like you're hinting at it there. It's Philly-based music and all
Philly's
things.
longest-running music podcast, I think. I have been interviewing pretty much solely Philadelphia and Philadelphia-adjacent artists, musicians, creatives, people in the community as well, not just performers. If you go back into the first couple of years of the show, which is odd because I'm up to 9, this is my 9th year now. Mm-hmm. There are some people who weren't really from Philly, and a lot of them were like my friends who were on tour, and I just wanted to hang out. So that's kind of how that happened.
Yes.
and people did reach out to me from other markets at some point, and I thought maybe that would be, the angle of the show. That's the thing about having a thing that goes on for as long as it does. It very rarely, you very rarely reach exactly what you're going to be about right from the get-go. Like that's simply not how it works.
Right.
And it took me, I would say, the first 2 to 3 years of the show for me to really figure out that, like, all right, this is a Philadelphia music show. And there wasn't much of a transition, but it was like, okay, this is what we're doing now. And I think ever since I did that, just the direction was very helpful.
Sure.
Limitations are great, everyone. You should set them up and then knock them down whenever you feel like it. Like,
Right.
It's that's the joy of running your own ship. It's your own ship.
That is exactly right. So thank you both for joining. I just think this is amazing, and it's a very apt approach to what's been going on, like we talked about at the top. So we kind of explained that what was WXBN was doing, and the three of us started to put out our lists, and we kind of started to say, hey, maybe we should get together and talk about this. And then as it became more of a reality with the list going out there from WXPN, we were just like, yeah, let's do it. And the fact that this show broadcasts on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. just was like the perfect timing, because we knew it was going to wrap around 5:30ish today. So we were like, hey, let's make that a reality.
We are the post game.
And right, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
and before we dive into anything else, Phil,
Yes.
thank you for putting this together.
Yes.
Because I love this. I'm so glad we're doing this. I've been waiting to do something like this, but I also have enormous ADHD and never would have been able to spearhead it myself. So thank you for taking the reins.
Oh, well, my pleasure. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, hey, it worked. It's super easy to just throw this out there, and we already have all the equipment. So what better when you want to talk about greatest songs by women than pulling three dudes together to talk about
Absolutely. That's I was going to make that point at some point. I'm glad you made it first. Right. Although Phil is repping a Lorena McKenna shirt right there. Yeah. I am repping my Neko Case shirt from the last tour that she was just on, which Phil and I saw together
in Bethlehem.
In Bethlehem. It was actually, I think, the first time that Phil and I ever hung out in person.
Right. That was the in-person.
I had done your show a couple months before.
Correct.
And you'd sent me an email and been like, hey, I got tickets to Neko if you want to come up.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, the first indoor concert I had attended since post-COVID.
Yeah.
And it was great. And it made us all feel good too, because Neko was very much of the mind that everyone in that audience was going to have a mask on their face.
Correct. Yep.
And it was that was a great show. And you had the whole backdrop behind of the steel stacks through the window. If people have never been to the Music and Arts Quest
Arts Quest,
Arts Quest, it's a beautiful venue.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. It is something that we tend to try and encourage people to come check out, because we're roughly 1:20, an hour and 20 from Philly, probably about the same from New York City.
Not far at all.
Yeah, so it is a nice venue, and if it's somebody that you're interested in, or even if you're not, it's a great town. You can come. We have music. And not only just there, we have probably 2 or 3 bars or other places that are going to have live music any given night as well. We're kind of like a little mini Austin, Texas.
No, it's true.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I figure we could get into it here. Why don't we start with the actual list? Well, let's go with what ended up as the top 10, and we can kind of share that. So I can't really argue with any of these. I mean, basically in the number 1 spot, so this is the one that got the most votes, the most points, was Respect by Aretha Franklin. Then A Case of You by Joni Mitchell. Jolene by Dolly Parton. The Story by Brandi Carlile. Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. Coming in 6th was At Last by Etta James. 7 was Angel from Montgomery by Bonnie Raitt. 8 was Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. 9 was The Joke by Brandi Carlile, and 10 was Crazy by Patsy Cline. I mean, a stellar lineup, as you would probably hope and expect, and you can't really argue with too many of them.
I almost wore my I almost wore my Patsy Cline shirt instead of my Neko Case shirt. It was a game time decision.
Yeah, and obviously we would argue with them individually, because I don't think any of us had any of those on our top 10.
No, but that's not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is The Joke, to me, is 100% a number 7 song. And I'm not just saying that because I had it in my fantasy. And if I would have hit it number 7, I probably would have won. Okay.
Right.
That sounds like that's between you and Ross, man. And that just needs to be settled at a different time. None of my artists even appeared in the top 10. Although we did learn, I did hear the stat. Dan Reed said it today that Joni Mitchell went 30 for the
right. So I have that here too.
Yeah.
This is the number of times each of these artists showed up in the 885. So Joni Mitchell, far and away, leads that list at 30 songs. Then the Pretenders at number 2 with 18.
That's fascinating that the Pretenders would even beat out Aretha or Bonnie or Brandy. Like XPN is Brandy Carlisle country, right?
Right.
There.
And you know what else is amazing too is the Pretenders album, that first album, had 8 on its own. Yeah. I think there's only 10, 11 tracks on it at all. So like that's probably up there as probably XPN gold at this point.
That's like Thriller level right there.
I would say it is surprising. It's completely surprising, but every single time one of the Pretenders songs came on, I would go, "Oh yeah, right." It's just every single song that you forget and you just go, "Oh,
that's true.
Of course."
That is true. When you listen to the list, you're kind of like, wait, I wasn't expecting that. And then you're like, oh, wait, yeah, that is pretty effing great. Like, I mean, it's just like, that was the lovely part of this list for me was that the kind of the reminder of how great these songs were and great these artists are. But I think also a window into the titans, if you will, that I wasn't aware of. I didn't realize how big Brandy Carlisle was, or Carole King. I mean, everyone knows Joni Mitchell, everyone knows Dolly Parton. Like, those are mega, superstars. Yeah. Those other ones, I was just like, wow, I just kind of like knew and liked those songs, but I didn't realize they were 2 in the top 10 type people.
Yeah.
Or like, I think Carole King had like 5 in the top 50. I mean, like, I just didn't realize they were that much of a difference maker in the industry, and that's bad on me for not knowing that.
The two standouts on that list. Throw that list up again real quick for the people. Everyone is probably familiar with every single artist on that list, with the exception, perhaps, the only ones that I don't think are like legacy lifetime names are Brandy Carlisle and Patty Griffin.
Sure.
And those two from the XPN perspective, they're XPN royalty right there. XPN was behind those artists when they were barely selling out 100 cap clubs. They were probably getting booked in small venues in Philly, and XPN took a chance on, a couple of traveling singer-songwriters.
Sure.
And their careers built thanks to markets like ours in Philadelphia and other stations like XPN. There are others. There's not a lot, but there are. And it's just amazing to see them in the same list as, Joni Mitchell, Carole King, Aretha Franklin, like Bonnie Raitt, and then to see Patty Griffin, Brandy Carlisle. That's the XPN flavor right there.
Yeah. In honor of the number 1 song, here's a little Respect by Aretha Franklin. Hard to argue with this one being the number 1 song. I mean, it's got everything you would probably want in a song like this.
So I have another podcast that I have done occasionally. It's called Double Lives. It's about live records. We did Aretha live to Fillmore, and she opens the set with Respect, played it about 5 times the speed of this, and it's the most amazing thing you've ever heard. It's like bump, 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 bump. She comes right out and just gives you the hit. And that song had really only been a hit for a couple of years when she had done it. I learned so much about Aretha and her band and the people around her and her career researching for that episode, and from the movie that came out a few years ago. That scene where they kind of, quote unquote, write Respect in the room.
Sure.
I know those are dramatizations. I know that's not how it happens, but it gets me every time just to watch someone be like, well, what if I do this? What if I do that? And then you get a classic song.
Right.
One of the amazing things about Respect, and also just this entire list, and this is kind of how I spent the top 20, top 30 maybe, is it is you know, some of these songs have been in the zeitgeist forever, right? And they're just, you know, expected and accepted. But I took the time to actually remove distraction and just sit and listen to a lot of this stuff on quality speakers. And this song just screams, man. Like, it is just pure fury, just like a perfect piece of art, you know, and just sonically interesting, like even as much as just the, you know, the riding tambourine is just so dominant and just it's amazing. It's truly amazing.
Yeah. And I want to give David Moore his flowers. David Moore is the co-host of this show. He couldn't join tonight, but he, when I told him about what we were doing, he sent me I sent him a text that said, by the way, XPN's doing this thing. So this is back on like November 7th. This is a text he sent me. I said, you know, you have to put in your votes. And he said, well, I missed it. Sorry. I mean, we all picked the same number one, right? Respect. If not, the answer is respect. So he guessed the number one way back then. That would have been his number one. It was. He just didn't get to submit it. But kudos to David for that one. I had won the
pool. He would have won it.
He might have won. But I had a different Aretha Franklin song. So here's what we're going to do. So each one of us are going to share our top 10s. We're going to highlight our number one, another song of note in that list, and then maybe one that probably is a little bit left of field. That needs some explaining. So I guess I'll go first since we were just talking about that. So I'll bring up my list here. And so what you can see here is this is my total top 10. Cosmic Love by Florence and the Machine was number one for me. Why by Annie Lennox. The Mummer's Dance by Lorena McKennitt. People noticed that I was wearing her shirt today. So I went with Think by Aretha Franklin. Then Hollywood Love Song by Dirty Dollhouse. Last Day of Our Acquaintance by Sinead O'Connor. Clearest Blue by Churches. Alligator by Of Monsters and Men, Los Angeles by St. Vincent, and Black Parade by Beyonce, Queen Bee. So what my rationale was, so very quickly, and in fact, Nate, you gave me the heads up on this because you were already sharing your list before I started and how challenging it was. And I was like, yeah, of course this is going to be tough. So I actually just jotted down, I started from, you know, just the let me think of anything that might make the list. And I just started to put those down and then whittle. And I just was like, wow, I can't get below like 25. And so I had to finally come up with something that allowed me to just feel okay with cutting down to 10. And what I ultimately landed on, which was something that I just felt would put when the title of this is The Greatest Songs by Women, XPN defined that as the woman was the front person, like the person who sang the song. I needed something that was a little bit more to it. So all 10 of these they wrote the song as well.
Nice.
So that to me was also an element to it, was they needed to be, for me to list it in the top 10 of the greatest songs by women, was they were the writer and the singer. So that's how I was able to kind of get a little bit farther down that list, down to 10. Also, personal note, every single one of these 10 stopped time for me. And people who will listen to the show know that I'm seeking that. That's one of the reasons why I go to shows, why I seek out new music, is because the first time you hear a song that blows your socks off is some of the greatest feeling you can ever have. And you can't recreate it. Like, sometimes that song can do it to you again and again, but there's nothing like that first time you heard it where you're just like, what is this? And time stops and you don't care about anything but listening and observing, especially if it's live. But anytime you hear those songs, so all 10 of these did that for me. I went back and I could almost pinpoint the day I heard it for the very first time. So that's a good transition into Cosmic Love by Florence and the Machine. I can actually pinpoint the day. It was like July 31st or something like that, because it was on, believe it or not, if anybody remembers the show, So You Think You Can Dance, that used to be on. For whatever reason, Florence and the Machine performed live on that show, not with dancers. And I just remember when it came on, she sang this song, and it absolutely just froze me, and I just loved it. So here's a little bit of Cosmic Love Song.
A falling star fell from your heart and landed in my arms. I screamed aloud as it tore through them, and now it's left me blind.
Florence and the Machine have a number of amazing songs, several that made the list. This, for me, is always the greatest. And it has harp, as we talked about, and it's on my shirt too. Some other people tuning in here mentioning Mummer's Dance and mind-boggling that Mummer's Dance didn't make the list. I agree with you all. I stand in solidarity with Lorena McKennett's excellence. But this was number one for me. Florence and the Machine, Cosmic Love.
Most of my stuff did not make the list, so I've become at home with that. I've become accepting of it.
Well, that was something I wanted to ask, Phil. Was how many of yours made it?
I did not do that math.
You told us to do the math.
I know,
right?
So the traffic coming home today was so bad.
Dan, the traffic, he said.
I know. That's.
I've barely left the house in a week, so you know.
I will definitely grab that together. But yeah, no. I mean, I can probably do it just off of anecdote, but let me just grab it here and pull that list back up.
I'm going to rely on Nate for a lot of this. I'm just going to turn to him and be like, Nate, fill me in. What number was blah? And he'll know.
See, if I didn't go first, I could have done it while you guys were all talking.
Yeah, that was
your house, buddy. Your rules.
Right. I'm pretty sure it's only like 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
But yeah. So this is like the greatest moment of music history right here. I'm just kidding. I say that about most songs I love. Yeah, I mean, just incredible. Love the songwriting, love the vocals, and just blows me away every time. But let's move. Who wants to go next, Dan or Nate?
Nate, go for it.
All right, I'll go.
So let's bring up your list here. It's a lovely handwritten list with the pen and paper.
Not really. It's not really. It's actually.
I know.
They don't know that.
No, but I can't tell you how many messages I got of people like, your penmanship is so much better than mine. And I was like, I can't do that to you.
I know full well you did not write those down.
I did too, but I didn't want to do it.
With your human hands.
So my process here, I'll run through them real quick and I'll tell you my process. All right. My number 10 was Whitney Houston's I Have Nothing. Number 9, Tori Amos, Silent All These Years. Number 8, Ani DeFranco, Both Hands. I couldn't fit putting in the Living in Clip version, but also I knew that other people wouldn't vote specific version. Number 7, Liz Phair, 6'1". Number 6, my pal Nicole Atkins, Maybe Tonight. Number 5, Fire Inc., Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young. Number 4, Taylor Swift, All Too Well, 10-minute version, Taylor's version, shining moment of the
right.
countdown for me.
You might have come in first place with that one, yeah.
Number 3, Celine Dion, It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which was criminally excluded from this countdown. Number 2 was Robin, Dancing on My Own. And number 1 was the Ronettes, Be My Baby.
All right. Well, so we have a little bit of that here, so let's share some Ronettes.
I mean, it's just brilliant.
Wallace Sound, baby. Wallace Sound. Get real Goodfellas time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because And Then He Kissed Me is also on my my 11s, my miss list. But no, man, like Be My Baby to me is without a doubt the most perfect pop song ever written. It's so concise. It doesn't waste any time. It grabs you right out of the gate with the with the kick and the snares. I mean, we're in it. And then once Ronnie Spector's voice comes in, who I only learned recently is actually singing the background vocals on this, like the rest of the Ronettes are not actually singing on the recording. It's all her. It's just incredible. It is the song that may have driven Brian Wilson crazy. If you read the anecdotes about how much he loved this song, like I think it was either Carney or who's the other Wilson? Not Wendy.
Dennis?
No, one of his daughters said that every morning they would wake up to the sound of the opening of Be My Baby. I think it was Mike Love was like, he probably has played me this song 10 million times, but it's just and it's the most criminal thing ever, because I honestly thought this was a top 10 song. Like, to me, this is a top 10 song. And what did it come in, like 42, I think, is what the I'll tell you in 1 second here.
I'm giving you your support from the listeners here.
142, guys.
Really?
142. So there are people who believe that there are 141 songs better than the greatest song ever made. Okay?
So, how is that possible?
It's impossible.
Yeah.
I know
Wow.
math, and that's not possible.
I mean, all hyperbole aside, I would have thought that would hit in the Hot 100 at least. Like
at least
at least 99.
If you had made me bet $20 on it, I would have taken that action.
I do have some update and actually breaking news. WXPN just informed us that Phil had 2 songs of his top 10 make the list. So A, that's an update on that. B, WXPN is listening right now.
What's up, y'all?
What's up, WXPN?
Just a little post game action right here.
So the thought process behind most of my votes on here were first of all, songs that absolutely move me and thrill me, but all of the placement was definitely done on purpose. So like Be My Baby is number 1 because I think it's the best song ever written.
Sure.
But also because I knew, like, there were songs that I left off that I'm like, well, that doesn't need my vote. At Last doesn't need one more vote, does it?
Yeah.
So like, so I,
it did actually. It came in 6th, so it needed a couple more.
It could have used a few more. But what I was trying to do was essentially like help out some ones that I thought should have higher placement, and then some others, had meaning and message behind them.
Yep.
And then like one of my favorite albums of all time is by the Co-Stars. I don't know if you remember or are familiar. The Co-Stars were Jill and Viv from Luscious Jackson. They had this side project, and they put one album out on Grand Royal, called Classics with a K. They got a song with Gene and Dean Ween on it. It's absolutely phenomenal.
That sounds amazing.
It's one of my favorite albums of all time, but I'm not going to vote for it because nobody knows it, right? So there were things I took off that I
Au contraire, there are at least 2 things on my list that I'm just like, ain't no one voting for this.
I did that as well, but we'll get into that in a second. That to me, that's the one that I had to explain. But go ahead. Anything else, Nate?
No, but that's so that's just kind of the thought process behind all of those placements and songs.
Got it. Sure. And we're definitely going to come back to. We have another kind of 2 waves through this. So Dan, let's go through your list here.
Okay. So here we go. So the thing I need to say about this list is the one at the top is my number 1, and everything else, a gun to my head. I couldn't put it.
So it's 1 and then 2.
1 and 2
times. Yeah.
Before I even get to the list 2, that image behind, I took that picture. That is the amazing Philadelphia punk band Amanda X. I took that picture. I took that picture of them opening up for Ted Leo many, many years ago. Such a killer band. I don't know how active they are anymore. I do see them pop up on marquees here and there. But Amanda X, Philly punk band, get in the know. They're amazing. But anyway, so my number 1 is Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, A Deal with God. And then going forward, Hole with Violet, The Breeders with Saints. 2 other Breeder songs made the list. Saints did not. I was ready for that.
Sure.
Veruca Salt's Seether. Matter Rose's Panic On. That's the one that I'm like, ain't no one voting for this one. Betty Davis. If I'm lucky, I might get picked up. I went through a real Betty Davis renaissance over the last few years. Ani DeFranco, Western New York Queen, Out of Range. En Vogue's Free Your Mind. Amy Mann's Calling It Quits. That was a tough one, picking an Amy Mann song. And Liz Phair's Supernova. Nate, you and I both had a Liz Phair song on there, and I was glad to see that they were different.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. So here, let me bring in a little bit of Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, and you can talk over the top of that.
Sure. I'm just going to watch the video now.
I know, I'm mesmerized.
No,
there's nothing quite like 80s, like
cinematography. And for her too, so much of her live performance when she was doing it, which was for a very short period of time as a very young artist, was this full of dance numbers and everything. She wanted to make a show. She didn't want to just go up with a band and sing at a mic and kick around and flip her hair like Stevie Nicks. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but Kate Bush is an auteur and an artist all at the same time. And hearing the opening strains of that song, I'm a 43-year-old man, and the beginning of that song, every freaking time, just gets me. Sure. Every time. It's eerie. The technology that we used to make it was incredibly specific to a time period, but still sounds timeless. I can't explain it. And the point is proven by its inclusion in the final season of Stranger Things.
Yep, and here's even a comment, Stranger Things bump.
Yes, absolutely. But that song, I will tell you, that song has lived in my brain rent-free since I was probably 8 years old. It was on the radio. My father was a Peter Gabriel guy, so I was familiar with the voice of Kate Bush long before I ever knew who she was. But she's on that one Peter Gabriel record.
That was my entryway to Kate Bush as well.
And but her voice is so incredibly distinct. And then growing up in the Rochester, New York area, WBER used to play Kate Bush a lot, and it just became part of me. There's also a Hold Steady song that's one of my absolute favorites. It's called Hornets, Hornets. And he has a line about this song. And the line is, she knew the words to Running Up That Hill. That song got scratched into her soul. And he'd never heard the song before, but he sure got the metaphor. He knew some people would switch places before. That song, that line also gives me goosebumps, but it makes me think of the song. And we're all better for it.
Absolutely. No, I mean, listen, it's an amazing song. It's certainly worthy of being on anyone's number one on the top 10 list.
Yeah. And my mindset, if we're talking about mindsets of having to decide, because how do you decide 10? I tend to go very much by the gut. I've done it every year that I've done the countdown. I try not to overthink it. The first year they did a countdown, me and my friends literally sat in a room with beers in front of us and spent hours formulating our lists, trading stuff back and forth. I've never done that again. It was an enjoyable evening, but just far too much time to devote to it. So I go from the gut, and I went very much with songs that impacted me as a young man, songs and artists that just normalized, not even showed me that women could play music, because you shouldn't need to be shown that.
No, right,
but songs that just normalized me, just the idea that anyone could do this.
100%. That definitely went into the 3-song stretch on my list that includes Liz Phair, Ani DeFranco, and Tori Amos, because the 3 of them are the holy trinity of teaching me how to feel when I was an emotional I said in the email that we've been having an email thread back between 3 of us over the last week or so. I said there is a certain type of teenage male like myself, and probably like Nate as well, who were radicalized the first time we heard Tori Amos. We were just like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know I could respond to this. Because you have to remember, Silent All These Years came out the most played video on MTV was Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Right. And I was the one guy who was going, I don't see what everyone has a problem with. Everyone else hated it. They were like, are you kidding me? She's ruining it. And I'm like,
I would just sat there and I was just transfixed by that song. Just by Silent All These Years. I remember the video. I remember, and again, being a Kate Bush guy, I think it sort of lent me in the direction of Tori, who I don't think that they're certainly not the same artist, but I think
they're in the same
I think Tori Amos coming after Kate Bush is not an accident. I think that Tori herself has admitted that she's highly influenced by Kate Bush and a lot of other singers of that era as well.
Absolutely.
But a lot of us were radicalized.
I want to catch up a little bit on the chat because we got some great comments in here, and I want to keep encouraging people to do it. So Amanda had shared, I just went with pure favorites, screw anything else or what is considered best. That's kind of what we all were saying as well.
Yep. I don't know if she'll share it in the chat or not, but Amanda had a really strong list too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, share it, Amanda. We'll pull up. This was a good one from Ross. He was saying, because I was talking about before that whole stop time moment wasn't live for him. It was the first time he had heard Lauren Mayberry's voice on The Mother We Share. And also another brutal snub there.
I'm not familiar with that song, but now I have to go find out.
Yes, absolutely. And then what else did we? Oh, here, this was a good one. We want to make sure that the ex-millennials are trolling Nate by listening on the Your Next Favorite Band feed, not the Yo, That's My Jawn feed. Thank you all.
That's good. No,
phenomenal.
I was directing everybody to your feed, Phil.
But yeah, that's and Ross apparently saying he's chopped liver. No, you're not.
Your list was all right. I'm just kidding. Ross's list also had both hands.
It was all right, he said. All right, so round two, what we're going to do is just highlight another song we want to highlight. So again, here's my list just pulling up on the screen there. The one I want to highlight second is actually from Beyonce and Black Parade. This may not be what most people would think of as one that someone might put in this list, but take a listen to Black Parade by Beyonce.
I'm going back to the south. I'm going back, when my roots ain't watered down. Growing like a baobab tree of life on fertile ground. My ancestor put me on game, on charm, on gold chains, with my old shoe energy. Drip all on me. Uncle that she keep it. Hold up, don't I smell like such a non-chopper instant.
So obviously the first rule of this list would be it has to be a killer track. Which this is. But then after that, in order to get to a top 10 of something, it has to have something special. So this has a lot of other elements to the outside of the song that I really, really like in the story. So like, obviously, I have a podcast where I bring on musicians and I want them to tell a story of a song. And so Beyonce, if you ever want to come on and talk on Your Next Favorite Band, I'll change the name of the show. But what this song has is, for one, it was dropped completely unannounced on Juneteenth. It's unapologetically celebrating blackness and being genuine in who she is and celebrating all of that. And then I think the other element that maybe not everybody knows is all of the proceeds that are from this song go to supporting Black-owned small businesses. So I just think all of that just speaks to the greatness. And so if we're talking about the greatest songs by women, this is someone out there who is just putting out there their excellence in every way possible in this song. And I just think that's amazing.
Absolutely. You know, first of all, shout out to Bianca. Because WXPN's radio feed has an issue with accent marks, and it will drop that letter, so it's just B-Y-O-N-C, Bianca. Mm-hmm. But Beyonce made an amazing appearance on the list this year. 7 songs from Beyonce, including two of my favorite songs of hers are Hold Up, which made it at number 659, which is an absolutely incredible song, and one of the greatest single modulations in song of all time. Love on Top came in at 434. The outro of Love on Top is just absolutely incredible and amazes me every time I hear it. But just a generational talent in Beyonce, and Black Parade is absolutely deserving to have made this list.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I was listening to this.
That's good.
I'm totally kidding. I was listening.
I'm married. I know what that's like.
Just love this song.
I know nothing about this song.
So if you want to do yourself a favor,
I like it, but like I am acquainted with probably just like the top 2% of Beyonce's catalog, and I know. I mean, I was a Destiny's Child guy back in the day, but the more I get surprised by tunes, this happens to me a lot. Something will be on, I'll be out in the world, and I'll hear something, and it'll be like this. I'll hear great vocal stacking, like we're hearing right now, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is awesome! Who is this?" And someone just turns to me and goes, "Beyonce, you idiot!" And I'm like, "That's the correct response to give me. Beyonce, you idiot."
So if you want to do yourself a favor, Dan, and anybody else who maybe hasn't seen it yet, go to YouTube, look up Black Parade, and then there is versions of it that have these incredible choreography and dance that supports it. And it's just, again, it's just excellence on display, and it's just so great to see it. So that was the other one I wanted to highlight because of all the great stuff there. So Nate, before we go into your next one, Amanda did share her list. So here's her first wave. And forgive me if I have this in backwards order. Yeah,
so close for me. It didn't happen, and I had to leave Bjork off as well. Oh man.
Yeah, so Bjork, Bachelorette, Portishead, Glory Box, Paramore, Misery Business, Evanescence, Bring Me to Life, The Joy, Formidable, Whirring, Poe, Haunted. Love that song.
Oh my gosh,
I love that whole album.
That's an early concert for me too. Poe at the Water Street Music Hall in Rochester.
And this is, I hope this is the second half of this. I hope I'm not doing it backwards. Goldfrapp, Utopia, Siba Mato, Spoon, another great song. Bat for Lashes, What's a Girl to Do, Concrete Blonde, Bloodletting. I'm a bigger fan of Tomorrow Wendy, but excellent. Concrete Blonde was also a big snub for the whole thing.
I'm a big fan of Still in Hollywood as well. Like that whole Still in Hollywood record for Concrete Blonde is a great one.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Ross, we're going to get to your list after we do Nate, because we'll just keep this rolling here. So, Nate, give us your next one you wanted to feature.
Yeah. So the thing I wanted to feature
Here's your list again.
Thank you. Was actually two, because they kind of go together, and that's number 3, Celine Dion. It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which was snubbed, and Fire Inc. Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young.
Well, I have Celine for you.
Okay, good, perfect. Yeah, so these are just 2 songs, and I'll take.
I had. So tell me which one you want. So I do have All Too Well, and I have Celine.
Oh, I'll do. I might have did it backwards. What was?
This is just another one of note that you wanted to mention.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
I think this is Taylor, actually.
Yeah, so let's do Taylor.
Yeah, as long as she doesn't shut down my stream with
I was going to say, let's get
copyright bots. If you hear me cut the song out, it's because.
The robots, the
robots are swarming.
It's like in the Matrix.
It's All Too Well.
It is version, actually very much.
10-minute version, Taylor's version, all these versions.
Keep saying it.
I'd like how fast this happens.
I'd like to point out that the music video for this features the young actress who played Max in Stranger Things, who floated up in the sky to Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. Just kind
How
of
about that for a tie-in?
I
think if we talk over it, we have a better chance of.
That's what I was trying to do.
Well, befuddle the robots.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about this one because, first of all, this was the song that on my list that ranked highest of songs that actually appeared. This came in at number 39. It should have been number 13. My Swifties out there know what I'm talking about. But anyway, the reason I wanted to talk about it is why it's on my list. All right, because I look at the Taylor versions of songs and her albums and stuff like that as one of the most empowering things that has happened in a very long time. This is I see what you're doing there.
I've been dying to try that the whole time.
This is someone, and it was awesome, by the way. This is someone who essentially did the I'm reclaiming my masters without bringing back the masters, and just re-recorded everything with her touring band. So it sounds exactly as it did on the original recording. And in a lot of regards, has even sold more copies than the original go around on some of these, and some of the streams on some of the songs charted higher than they did when they were originally released. And this song, to me, would not exist without the Taylor versions. So I like to look at this as kind of the encapsulation of that entire Taylor version project.
Sure.
So it's not just the song, which is also an incredible takedown of Jake Gyllenhaal. We all know who it's about, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Right.
Our generation's Warren Beatty of
that's amazing,
right? So like, and I was very, very specific of where this went on my list, because I needed it to place, and I needed it to place high. And I saw so many people out there, and of course all my XB Zennial pals, we were all pulling for All Too Well to make it. And when it came on in the countdown today. My God, the boomer tears, they tasted so sweet.
This is perfect. So Ross threw this out there. The coalescence around Tay-Tay was also a direct revolt by the younger generation against our boomer parents who think their pop music was better than our pop music. That's amazing.
So true. It's so true.
It's so perfect.
And like, it's weird to me how much people hate pop music. And in turn hate Taylor Swift completely. And so I'm so happy to see not just this song, but so many songs. She was, you put the list up there of top artists. I think she came in with 10. Yeah. And like some surprises in there for me because I didn't know that we had it in us, but boy, am I so happy that we're, I like to say the kids are all right.
But look who she shares. Look who she shares that 10 designation with. The Big 10 is Brandy, obviously. Linda Ronstadt. Talk about a massive legacy talent right there. Patty, and Tori.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's some pretty damn good company, right?
Absolutely.
There to be in, and for an artist who has existed a fraction of the amount as any one of those other artists, right there. I, like Beyonce, know very little about Taylor Swift other than what friends of mine who are super into Taylor Swift tell me about. But I have found that the fandom culture surrounded, the rabid fandom culture surrounded Taylor Swift reminds me of the also enthusiastic fan culture of bands like Phish and the Grateful Dead. So, you find your thing and you go with it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into yours, Dan, let's get to Ross's top 10, since it kind of fits with what we were just talking about. His number 1 was Taylor Swift, All Too Well, 10-minute version, Taylor's version. Number 2, Mazzy Star, Fade Into You, wonderful song.
That'd be up there for me, too.
Played in my wedding when we walked out. 3, Carly Rae Jepsen, or walked in, processional, recessional, whatever it was. Carly Rae Jepsen, Run Away With Me. 4, Paramore, Misery Business. Hold, please, these things get split. 5, Mitski. Huge fan of this song. This was in my next. Nate calls them the 11s. I call it the next 10. So yeah, Mitski, Your Best American Girl is wonderful. 6, Churches, The Mother We Share, which Churches was in my top 10 with a different track. 7, Sneaker Pimps with 6, Underground. 8, Marion Hill, Down. 9, Ani DeFranco, Both Hands. And then number 10, Snuck to a Different Thing. Always.
I love that
you Marry Me.
I love that you picked Marion Hill there because I had them on the program not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not super familiar with their music outside of a couple of their big kind of breakout tunes. And it was remarkable to talk to both of them about how they put the songs together and how they've worked together, how they've sort of navigated the business, because they came up in an era of MP3 blogs where you could get a decent amount of clout without having really played a ton of shows. Now, they would, of course, go on to play tons and tons of shows, but that was a very interesting point of the conversation. And I'm just trying to bring it back as a plug for my show.
as it should. And yeah, people should like and subscribe Dan's show. Terry, thank you for sharing your list. We're going to get to it right after this. So Dan, which song did you want to highlight next?
Did I give you the Madder Rose?
Yes, Madder Rose is next. Panic On.
So a little explanation.
Yes.
Well, let's hear it.
Yeah, let's play some of it and then I'll bring you in.
The song is killer.
It's a great song. I was definitely happy to hear this one.
Do you remember this from back in the day?
Totally. Kind of had forgotten it. Found it because it was on your list and you had picked it. And it brought me right back to basically 19-year-old, not sure if he wants to be grungy, not sure if he wants to be emo, not sure if he wants to be, probably hungover, walking to class in college. Phil. And this was the sound going on and scratching the synapses of my brain.
So every decade gets tried. We try and pin it down into a sound, but really what I think it is a sound for you. And to me, there are many sounds of the 1990s, and this particular kind of music right here, this washy, arty music with just really great female vocals. I could name tons of bands. And as you see on my list, like I very much am living in the 90s, particularly kind of the early part of the 90s.
Sure.
Matter Rose were a band from New York City. The front woman, her name is Mary Lorson. She eventually found herself in the Ithaca area and was teaching English at a high school. I met a kid later who that was his English teacher, was Mrs. Lorson, who used to do some really killer poetry units, apparently. Another member of this band was, why am I blanking on him? He had a rockabilly band called Speedball Baby, and he would also be in John Spencer's Heavy Trash. Matt Verderay, that is his name. I got to interview him back in the day when I was first getting into interviewing bands for publications. I had an hour-long phone call with Matt Verderay, who was an amazing dude and said things to me as an artist that I still think of to this day. But now the guitar gets grungier, you get a little Marshall stack in there. To me, this is the 90s.
Right. Yeah.
And I first encountered this band on WBER in Rochester, New York. They used to do a great program called Music Mass. So if somebody was coming through town, they would play like an hour of their them, just to kind of get you hyped, get you hyped for the band. They paired Matter Rose in with the same hour of Hole, because Matter Rose was supporting Hole on that tour. And I had tuned in, I had my cassette ready for Hole, but I ended up taping the entire Matter Rose section as well. And then for a while, that was the only Matter Rose music I had, was what I had taped off the radio in 1994. And this song I always remember, but I didn't know names of songs.
Sure. No, right. Yeah, that's the thing. You
records or anything.
No Shazam, no internet. Like, you just had to go, like, I like this song. What is it? Yep. I have no idea.
Yep. Later, when I got into college radio and I found these CDs kicking around, I was able to piece them together. And I think I probably own a decent sized Matter Rose collection. They made a handful of records, and
I do remember they had the eponymous. What is the word when you name a song after yourself? Like
eponymous.
That's the one. I can never say the word. But they had Rose Matter, and it was just like, I kind of blew my mind. I'm like, you wrote a song about yourself. It was great. So anyway, thank you for that. That was such a trip down memory lane.
I know, right? I still listen to it.
Also, lots of support here for the choice of Marion Hill. So there's some good stuff there for you as well. We have another listener list here. Let's look at this one. This one's from Aunt Tiwi. Aunt Tiwi was there you go, Nate. You personally recruited them to join today. So here's their list. Number one for them was Patsy Cline, Walking After Midnight. 2, Tedeschi Trucks, Midnight in Harlem, a lot of midnight. 3, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Didn't It Rain? 4, The Staples Singer, I'll Take You There. 5 was Aretha with Think, that was what the one was on mine. 6, Etta James, In the Basement. And then let's move on here. Number 7 was Loretta Lynn, You Ain't Woman Enough. 8 was Janice with Piece of My Heart. 9, Bonnie Raitt, Angel from Montgomery, which made that top 10.
Yeah.
And then 10 was Lucinda Williams with Drunken Angel. So thank you for submitting that. That's a great list.
I want to say
other people are submitting too, but we'll keep kind of staggering it. If people want to put that in there, that's wonderful.
I want to say something about Piece of My Heart, because that was another one that, like, is
Take
ubiquitous,
it,
and like, and I've heard it 10 million times or whatever. Oh my God, I just heard about. There it is. All right, it went. Did you see my little thumbs up thing? Let's see if I can do it.
It's super weird. If there's something else you do that makes balloons happen, I don't know what it is yet, but when it happens, it's hilarious because it could be the most inappropriate moment.
It's something that Apple did in their iOS, and I haven't figured out how to turn it off yet. But anyway, I'm
the same.
So Piece of My Heart came on today, and it was another one of those songs that I've heard 10 million times in my life. But I actually was like, let me just sit down and just live this. And again, Janice gets all the way in that ass. Like, it is just like she 100% leaves nothing left on the bone, man. She absolutely slays that. Thank you. Absolutely slays that track. It's incredible.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So now we move into the realm of like the each one of us had at least one song on our top 10 that was like, and need a little bit of explanation. So mine was a song called Hollywood Love Song by Dirty Dollhouse. And there's going to be two decent elements to this explanation, one musically and one personally. But for those of you who don't know it, let's just play it a little bit here, and then we'll get into it.
Do you remember when you were in love with another? 'Cause I don't remember anyone other than you. Do you pretend to have known at the moment?
Shout out to
like
Newtown
I
Books.
do? 'Cause I can't imagine anything better than you. Pick me up after my shift at the diner and walk me through Chinatown.
So people who do listen to the show know how big a fan I am of Chelsea Mitchell, lead singer of Dirty Dollhouse. But those of you who don't know or don't know this particular song, Chelsea Mitchell, lead singer, Dirty Dollhouse, from Newtown, Pennsylvania. What you're seeing in this video is her vinyl and used books shop, and she has this stunningly amazing voice and absolutely terrific songwriting. And I just think this song, the world of the song, many other ones as well, but this one in particular just sounds like something that could have come from just about any decade of this century at best.
Absolutely. And like I said, shout out to Newtown Book and Record Exchange. I just want to say that on Record Store Day, that's where I went.
Oh, nice.
And there was a line around the block. I think I ended up at like number 128 or something like that, because that was the, look at me tying it all together. That was when the Taylor Swift release dropped.
The Taylor version.
Yeah. And just to tie it also to WXPN, that is also when I missed out on getting a copy of WXPN Homegrown, because all of the Swifties took all of them. So thanks for that, Taylor.
Yeah. And Chelsea, a unapologetic, massive Swiftie fan.
Yes. Yeah.
But does not write that music herself. She writes this just hauntingly, amazingly beautiful.
Who is the guy in this video? Is that August?
It is. Yeah.
It took me. August and I go way back. For those who don't know, August Lutz was the frontman for a band called the Levy Drivers.
Okay.
Not to take this away from the focus of Chelsea and Dirty Dollhouse, but I stared at the back of his shirt. I go, I know that dude. August, what's up, dude?
But yeah, so I find her voice to sound like if Roy Orbison and Joni Mitchell had a child, and just so happens her last name is Mitchell. It's like, maybe it's just too perfect to be true.
Got some real David Lynch vibes, dude, right here. Like David Lynch would like this song.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the other people who know me know that I never stop one of her songs. We're going to listen to the whole thing and we can just keep chatting. But
no complaints here. Also, I believe getting re-released on vinyl, or just got re-released on vinyl?
Just got re-released. So she has, she just got recently picked up by a record company who re-released her Vinyl Child and Coyote albums, re-released them on vinyl, and then she has brand new music that'll come out next year, and super looking forward to it. And then the other thing that I had said, the personal reason why this would have made my top 10 list is, again, I talked about my wedding a little bit ago, that we played Fade Into You on the way in. That was played right after we exchanged our vows, was Hollywood Love Song. So there's that reason as well. So I'll be a snappy romantic for a moment, but yes, love that song, and much like pretty much the rest of her catalog as well. But that particular song stands out.
And that video, directed by none other than Philadelphia music video auteur Bob Sweeney, who has lent his name and talent to many an excellent music video and film made by artists in the Philadelphia area. Shout out to Bob Sweeney.
Shout out to Bob Sweeney. And Aunt Tiwi seems like she liked a little Dirty Dollhouse there. So that's the whole point of the show. Hopefully it's your next favorite band, as the expression goes.
So I love it. It's like it's like in the movies when they say the title of the movie and you go, hey, that's the thing.
That's how it got there. Nate, which was the track that you had wanted to maybe provide some explanation around?
Right. So so the two songs, Celine Dion, which you have.
That's the one I have for you, yeah.
And then also Fire Inc., Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young. Both of these songs are written by Jim Steinman, who wrote all the Bat Out of Hell stuff for Meatloaf, and a host of other things. I am a 100% unapologetic fan of that man's work.
Clearly.
I've
Two songs made it. Yeah.
I've a long time and I've a long time said that if you ever hear a song and it sounds like thunder or a motorcycle starting out musically, Jim Steinman probably has his hand in it. And these two songs fit that marquee 100%. So
Well, let's play
Celine
some
Dion.
It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion, and then we can chat about it.
Oh,
there you go.
There's that thunder.
There it is. Here it comes. I mean, again, we should probably, if we made it through Beyonce and Taylor without copyright strikes, I think we can survive.
There were nights when the wind
Oh,
was
it's
so
good.
But he froze in bed, he
Look,
thought
all right.
just
First of all, let me own it.
right
I'm a theater
outside
kid, all right?
the window.
100% a theater kid, and nobody does theatrical music like Jim Steinman. Which is what's amazing is that I've never actually seen any of his musical work because I just don't know that I'd be able to contain it. But there is, if you go look for it, there is an unreleased Batman musical that he wrote.
I was going to ask that exact question. Yes, I have a story about that. But keep going.
He, not only does he write these epic songs, but he comes up with these incredible titles that usually go on way too long and include like parentheses and ellipses.
Yeah.
So one of the songs from the Batman soundtrack is in the land of the pig, the butcher is king, I believe. So like, come on, Jim. But anyway, so this song and Fire Inc.'s "Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young." If for those of you who don't know what "Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young" is, if you've ever seen the Walter Hill film "Streets of Fire" starring Michael Pare, it is one of Ellen Ain's songs that she sings, Diane Lane's character. If you just want to hear what that sounds like, if you jump on over to the Yo That's My Jawn channel, you can see your friend. There goes the thumbs up again. Now I'm not going to be able to get it. There it goes. If you go to the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel, you can watch your pal Nate do an acoustic cover of "Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young." Jim Steinman was a fan of Wagner and wrote Wagnerian pop songs. And
Amanda says, "Inject the Jim Steinman drama
yes.
straight to my veins."
And one other Jim Steinman song, which did actually make the countdown, that I would be remiss if I did not mention, number 297, Bonnie Tyler's "Total Eclipse of the Heart" by Jim Steinman.
Oh, yeah, I could totally hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you for introducing me to that.
The thing
Opening
about
the doorways.
the thing about this particular Celine song, because I grew up in the era of Celine on the radio everywhere, and growing up near Canada means that we were introduced to her probably maybe a little earlier than the rest of the world, because she was in Montreal, like French Canadian pop princess.
Sure, of course.
Before she became the global pop queen that she would. But the lead into the chorus, that slow down on the piano, which completely leaves the meter for a minute and goes back in, is one of the most brilliant things you can do before a chorus. It's a tool that not anyone can wield, but Jim Steinman does it on multiple songs, and he just, every time he does it, you're just like, I know this is one of your tricks.
This has got to be Nate's favorite part right here.
It's I DJ and I DJ'd this for a wedding one time, and I don't know that I've ever seen an entire dance floor of so many different people singing along with their heart feels. All right, it's all coming back to me now, like, and it just builds and it builds. Oh, do you feel it, people? Do you feel the love of "It's All Coming Back to Me Now"?
Nate, didn't you do the dance number for this?
Here comes the best
Here it
part
is.
of the song.
Yep.
Here we go.
Look, and
flipping brilliant.
Not only does he wield that pause and the build up But when you're doing it and you have a paintbrush that is the vocal talents of Celine Dion, my God, there is nothing you can't do.
That's exactly right.
I should also say that this is the song that broke up Meatloaf and Jim Steinman, because Jim didn't want Meatloaf to do a cover of it, and then Meat threw it on his I think he called it That Free, but Jim wasn't involved in it, and that was what separated them for a very long time.
Well, you can't fly that close to the sun, Meat.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Not to speak ill of the past, but he should have respected the wishes. And I was gonna put to your point right there, because like we are talking about great songs by women, performed by women. Two of Steinham's biggest hits are performed by two of probably the best vocalists to ever exist in Western pop music. And there's no mistake, he writes great songs, but if you don't have someone to sell them, then because he wrote some great songs for Meatloaf that I think have gone better when other people have done them. And no shade on the late Meatloaf a day, but you got to sell it.
100%.
Yep. So someone here wanted to know how you did on your list, Nate. How did it fare in the you have your
Yeah. So I banged out 8 of my 10 made the list. 8 of my 10. The only 2 that didn't were the 2 Jim Steinman tracks, but everything else made it.
That is a travesty. I'm sure they came in 886 and 887.
So what was the Celine song that won it? Was it My Heart Will Go On?
My Heart Will Go On was on, and
what's
also,
the other one?
Tons of them.
Oh God, it's right on the tip of my tongue, and by the tip of my tongue, I mean I'm pulling up.
It's on the
on my phone.
I'm pulling up Drew's sheet. Oh, Power of Love.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It's odd we did not see more Celine representation on. Do you think it's because
No way? Yeah. Why did I not know that?
I knew that actually, because I'm not a big Sisters of Mercy fan, but one of my best friends in high school was, much to our annoyance, and I have a lot of information about the Sisters of Mercy in my brain, and have come to like aspects of them more later. Who am I to talk? I'm a Fish fan, so like, you know.
All right, so Bruce Warren's is flexing. He said that all of his made the list, and his number 1 was the number 1. So,
well, I think there's a little bit of the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah,
right there, Bruce. Like,
somebody put a thumb on the scale.
Bruce, I wouldn't be like telling everyone that, because we're all going to look at that immediately as suspect. I'm suspect.
I had all the faith in the world.
I don't know if you saw it or if he wants to post it, but Bruce is another person who had a very strong list, including
I have it right here.
You got it?
Yeah. This is Bruce's list right here. Aretha Franklin, Respect. Patti Smith, Gloria in Excelsis Deo. Carole King, It's Too Late. Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll. Alanis Morissette, You Ought to Know. Beyonce, Single Ladies. The Supremes, Stop in the Name of Love. Adele, Rolling in the Deep. Lord, Royals, and Madonna, Like a Prayer.
The
list.
The Supremes were one who I feel like really got hosed on this list, but mostly because so many of their songs are brilliant that it diluted the vote pool for them. So many of them like ended up high numbers, but not because they're not absolutely stellar songs.
I was laughing because Bruce wrote in and I said no thumb on the scale.
Me thinks the Bruce doth protest.
No, of course.
No,
Bruce needs to tell us what number 886 was and why it
definitely was
all coming
Steinman country. All right, so Dan, what was the one you wanted to kind of give a little explanation around?
Did I give you En Vogue for that one?
It was En Vogue.
Yes.
So we have Free Your Mind by En Vogue. Anything you want to do beforehand or let it rip?
It was actually hard to pick it. I knew En Vogue had to be on my list because before I became a kid who was into rock music and punk music and indie music and become the bearded glasses snob that I am today, I was just listening to what was ever on Top 40 radio. And En Vogue was big. And I have a lot of songs by En Vogue I like, but I picked this one because I absolutely love the guitar stab on it, and you'll hear it.
Yeah, here we go. Free Your Mind, En Vogue.
Prejudice. Wrote a song about it? Like to hear it?
Here you go.
Free your mind.
And the cowbell.
I wear tight clothing
yeah, this is like R&B pop meeting that little bit of a filthy guitar.
It's almost Living Color, is what it is.
Yeah, it's in that same zip code.
The squeal in the back is 100%. It has to be an homage to Prince. Like it can't not be. This song, if you listen to the lyrics about it as it goes on, is some really powerful, really in-your-face stuff to be singing about, especially by a pop group of black women, all completely over my head when I was a kid. I just thought this song kicked ass.
Sure. And that was the nice part about the accessibility of it, was it showed you that anything else was going to be taught.
Yeah.
Like,
here comes the hook. Yeah. This whole record is front to back classic.
Okay.
And it's got my second favorite En Vogue song, which is the Never Gonna Get It song, which almost ended up on there. That also has a great like arrangement to it as well.
Absolutely.
But they were like I said, before I became the snob that I am today, this was what was on the radio in the car, and this song particularly just took me as a kid, as did the whole group. Therefore, laying the groundwork for later when A Destiny's Child would come out. Just again, a group of people singing together. It's something I bemoan sometimes in the R&B and hip hop world as time has gone on. Is we've kind of done away with groups. It's always this person featuring this person and this person. But I miss the group, which is why some of my favorite hip hop artists are groups: De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Diggable Planets, Arrested Development, Jurassic 5, like. Salt and Peppa are a group, you know, and R&B groups were a group, multiple singers harmonizing. I think En Vogue is like them, SWV at the time as well.
Totally.
We don't live in that world as much anymore right now, but I really do miss the groups because it's a throwback to the 60s, the 50s and 60s, Motown, original Motor City Soul, you know. Yep. But I love that tune, and it seems out of left field for me, which is why I feel like it needed
No, it was
a little bit of
beautiful, and
explanation.
actually is a great. So I wanted to provide this slight tangent here. It's holiday themed, and it actually is the doorway to it is "Free Your Mind" by En Vogue. Did everybody watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade?
I did.
I caught a bit of it, yeah.
So it's been a tradition for me and my family since I was young, and I've carried it through to this family, like as now that I'm the parent. And we watch it. And this year, I was particularly thrown off by a few moments where I just went, I don't understand what's happening right now. And one of them, actually, it starts with En Vogue. So actually, this is a video of En Vogue.
I saw the En Vogue part, yeah.
Yeah. So here's
girl groups of all time here
so here's En Vogue
to clear out
on
our
the
heads with their
Kalahari
mega hit
float,
"For Your Mind." Please
singing "Free Your
welcome
Mind."
En Vogue.
And the weirdest part is they don't let them say the word prostitute.
Yeah. Good scratch there, right?
I mean, that was on the radio when it came out.
Like, I don't understand. Like, it wasn't a filthy word. It was anyway.
It's a real word. It's not like using a pejorative slang or some sort of misogynistic term for it.
Does
Also,
anybody else respect that Dawn was like, no thanks?
But I think I was super thrown off by, okay, it's Thanksgiving morning. You're now throwing at me the Kalahari float with En Vogue singing "Free Your Mind." None of that seems to connect.
I don't think,
and that's always my biggest problem with the floats.
I think
was
what
always like,
they do is they just jumble it all up in a hat and they add it together. En Vogue is on the elephant float. Why? I don't know. En Vogue elephant. They start with E. Off we go.
Sure. So that was like now that was like, all right, I guess like families planning for a winter vacation, they might go there and someone might remember En Vogue was cool to the point of what you were just saying. Then it started to get weirder. So then the next thing was we had Chicago on the Wonder Bread float.
No, that makes sense. It's all white.
But yes, but that was just like, okay, what is about, like, this is not making me buy more Wonder Bread. And again, I fail to see the connection of Thanksgiving bread and Chicago. And then we really went into left field with this was Belle Biv DeVoe on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles float.
See, that one makes sense to me.
No,
And I'm
I can buy
singing
that
Poison.
more.
I just
Well,
what was
the
this
ooze,
even trying
the ooze
to
is
accomplish?
poison. It's you've got to reach for it, Phil, but it's there.
Yipes. Anyway, I was
Phil-
just like, thank goodness my children are not young anymore.
Phil, so as somebody who watched the Thanksgiving Day parade, were you as insulted as I was watching Jimmy Fallon front the Roots to sing the Ramones? Because like that sentence right there.
I don't like anything about that. I mean, I like the Roots.
I'd
and I
rather
like
watch
the
Belle
Ramones.
Biv DeVoe with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'd rather watch
But-
Belle Biv DeVoe do the Ramones. I think they do a great job.
That would be great.
I have
But
no.
see, that's
I
where they're
have no
missing out.
beef. I have no beef with Jimmy Fallon, but like, come on.
Actually,
dude,
put
he's
Fallon
got a
with the
show.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would make sense. It's all New York City.
Give
So
him
anyway,
the elephant. Maybe the elephant falls on him. I don't know.
That's why they cut prostitute. Giuliani got rid of the prostitutes a long time ago.
no one knows what that word means anymore. They don't exist in New York anymore. But anyway, I guess we're getting towards the end of the list here for us. I kind of thought it would be fun to play one more song. And again, it speaks to what we were kind of talking about before about what scratches, the itch in all of our heads here is that 90s kind of grungy sound. So I thought it was fair that the two of you both had Liz Phair on your list. And I actually had on my 11s or next 10 a totally different one. So Nate, you had 6'1". I would have had Uncle Alvarez is one. That's my favorite song by her. But Dan, you had Supernova. So here's some Supernova by Liz Phair, which I just think is a killer track. So while we let this kind of chill there in the background, some people...
Chicago indie rock right here. It's
Absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh. And like,
yeah, you can see where the Rat Boys come from. Just listening to this.
Yeah. I don't know if this video, no, it's the video for Jealousy, which I went back and forth between Supernova and Jealousy as being my Liz Phair pick. I knew it had to be on there, and I knew it had to be from Whip Smart and not Exile. I know Exile is the more lauded of the record of hers, and it's a great record, but Whip Smart's the first record by her I ever heard, and this is the first song I ever heard by her. So,
but I think that album with Uncle Alvarez is perfect front to back.
White Chocolate Space Egg is a great record. And she did not get a fair shake after that point when she tried to go a little poppier and go on a little bit of the Sheryl Crow route, and she got kicked out by the indie snobs, but then not really accepted by the pop world. So she found herself in the middle. But her book is excellent. I picked it up last year at a bookstore and have read it, all about just her and the career and the life she had in music. Ain't nothing come easy. But she was a major crush of mine. Like
100%. How could anybody not? I mean, just like.
Yeah,
she's solos.
Badass.
Obviously,
she's got a guitar.
Dances around with a space helmet on. Like
and she was sharp and funny and
absolutely
and foul mouthed and and cool. Like I think we cannot underestimate what cool is. That she just didn't give an F. Like you can just tell in the way that she sings and performs. She does not care what you think.
Yeah.
She called her record Exile in Guyville because she knew it would piss off the snobs.
Yeah.
And good on her.
Speaking of Guyville, and of course that's where 6'1" comes from, and it goes back to what you were saying about Madder Rose, which is that 90s guitar sound is my everything. And like, how like when you start to work with a producer and they're like, bring some stuff that you kind of sonically want your stuff to sound like. The two things I would take, like if I were doing anything that was me playing an electric guitar, I would take Guyville or I don't know if it is a little nerdy, but I don't know if you guys remember the show The Adventures of Pete and Pete on Nickelodeon.
Absolutely.
But the soundtrack to that was a band Polaris, which is actually Miracle Legion. But I
love Miracle Legion. Yeah.
So the Polaris Pete and Pete album and Liz Phair Guyville, and I'd be like, now make my stuff sound like this. And then, but acoustically, it's always that first Violent Femmes album. I'd be like, can you please make everything sound like this? And why doesn't everything sound like this?
Yeah.
Why don't the drums sound like they're being played down the hall?
Right. I love it.
My current my Venn diagram right now of music that I really want to listen to which is all fed by that 90s sound is any kind of combination of Rat Boys, screaming females, and
R.I.P.
And exactly, yeah, and it's just like that mixture of that whole thing. Whereas depending on if I want to have it feel more poppy, more grungy, or more heavy, it's like I could be right in the middle or in any one of those angles, and all three of them made my next list as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had tons of stuff on the next list from that era as well. But there was this was a real moment in indie rock, and you had people like Liz Phair, you had bands like Matter Rose, Magna Pop, Helium, Slater Kinney kind of coming up there, and a lot of that K Record stuff, Bikini Kill. I mean, we can't deny Holes lived through this as well as being a massive.
Oh, totally.
Formative sonic record for those of us dudes who liked guitar music. I loved guitar music, and when I heard Hole, I was like, well, this is guitar music.
Well, it's funny.
Bully is the pop one that.
Oh yeah,
it is now. But if I was just having a discussion with my buddy James Hearn, who's a musician in Austin, about the early Bully releases sound more like Hole and Nirvana than they sound like now. And I really love that first that first Bully EP. She has Philly ties, I believe. I can't quite remember what they are.
Get her on the show.
It's
but it's you talk about that guitar sound and girls rocking with guitars. One of my 11s, I didn't actually pick a specific song because I can't, because they're just all perfect. But the soundtrack to the film Josie and the Pussycats, no lie, is to me one of the most important pop records or records ever, and that is because from like the 90s to like that album, like Girls with Guitars kind of fell out of favor or something. I don't know. And like Grace Vonderkoon was on the show, and we talked about the Josie and the Pussycat soundtrack to her was like the first time she saw like girls rocking with guitars, and she was like, oh, I'm allowed to do that. All right.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of just opens like a permission structure to like an entire marginalized group, especially in music. And like that's what I like the Riot Girl sound of like the 90s is, it just speaks to me so much because it's so powerful and so empowering.
And it's so it has that same sort of cathartic thing of like listening to like Mudhoney or Nirvana or something like that. If you listen to Bikini Kill, and I know what they constantly throw at Kathleen Hanna's feet is that like, well, her songs aren't very interesting, they're not very complex, and just like, well, none of this other stuff was either. But again, it all depends on the gender of the person who's doing it.
Exactly.
Why does Kathleen Hanna get sometimes written off as like a little bit of a 3-chord wonder, but then someone like PJ Harvey that has the same amount of vitriol and guts and just energy, why does she get to sit in a different place than the others? And of course, that's art for you right there. Who knows why?
Right.
But big shout out to the XPN listeners, because PJ Harvey had like 6 entries in this, and like that's
a wide array of career too. Like not all Rid of Me, that era. Yeah.
I think I do think the listenership was on display here in how they know what they're talking about, which I love about this area. So whether it's going to see a show in Philly or here in Bethlehem, I'm just always in awe of the listeners, the audience. Just they show up, doesn't matter what day of the week it is, doesn't matter who the performer is, they're there, they're ready to listen to music, they're ready to talk about it afterwards. And like you just said, Nate, it was pretty much on display there just how acute and how perceptive the audience is around here. So again, like you just said, kudos to the listeners.
Yeah, and and look, I don't want to sound like a fanboy here, but that's a testament to WXPN.
We do that all the time on this show, Nate. You're fine.
Oh well, good. Okay. But seriously, it's a testament to WXPN that like not only do they kind of break new artists and stuff like that, but they don't leave old artists behind. And like listening to this 88.5 countdown, it was just a phenomenal like back to back of like, oh my god, this song is amazing, like you
Yep.
know what I mean.
And from
like,
the very beginning, like it
yes,
started out hot, and then it just kept delivering. It was a
Shoot
great
by Salt
exercise.
and Pepper was like 849.
Yeah.
There are 848 songs that people found better than Get Your Lips Wet, It's Time to Have Pep.
That I did not
Okay.
have that on my bingo card for tonight.
there we
Thank
go.
you, Nate.
Yeah.
So last point here, people are asking about snubs.
Oh yeah.
So
Some of my stuff is
there's-
in those snubs.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. I mean, obviously, many of our lists had a lot of chock full of snubs. Here's Bruce's list of snubs. He had Betty Serviert, Ellen Foley, the Donnas.
Ellen Foley, yes.
Yep, Natalie Cole, Helium,
Certainly.
Babes in Toyland. He also listed Juliana Hatfield, which is a major one.
That was a major flub.
Yep.
A song came up in my world on the algorithm, and it was a Juliana Hatfield song from the album after the one in the 90s that everyone thinks of her as, the one with the buffalo on it. And it took me about 10 seconds longer than I'd like to admit for me to realize it was Juliana Hatfield's song. But just from the notes and just hearing it, I was just like, oh, this is great. I thought to myself, I'm like, if this is a 90s, woman singer, rock band alternative thing that I've never heard of, and then I picked up my phone and I go, oh, okay, it's Juliana Hatfield. Thank God.
I think she's playing in Sellersville.
She is. She's playing.
Yeah, we should go see that.
Her
thing in January.
Her book is excellent as well, and involves one of the greatest takedowns of the green room at the old North Star bar, because it was a horrible green room, and she spends at least 2 paragraphs talking about how awful the green room is at North Star.
I've had Juliana Hatfield on my mind a lot recently because mostly because she's coming to Sellersville, but also I've been guesting. This is a horrible plug. I'm sorry, guys. I've been guesting on this podcast called Single Season Record, where they break down shows that only got one season, and they've been doing My So-Called Life. And so Make It Home has been on play on repeat in my head, especially being the Christmas season and all. So in talking and breaking down My So-Called Life, I found an old AOL chat from the day that the So-Called Angels, which is the episode she was in, check it out, it's brilliant. An AOL chat from MTV when that episode came out with her and Claire Danes, and some of the stories she tells in the chat are much like the North Star. Like it's really incredible, and she's an amazing person. She's got this song called I Think I Might Be in Love Again that is one of the best pop songs ever written. And yes, definitely a snub that she did not show up on this countdown.
Yeah. Well, we only have 885 of them. It's.
You know what? I'm going to make a controversial take. Take 3 of those Joni Mitchell songs out and just give me some Juliana Hatfield.
I mean, yeah, she could give up 10 and still come in first.
Right?
She's still the queen.
A couple of my snubs, I already mentioned Screaming Females. They didn't make anything, right? I mean, they should definitely be in there.
I don't believe so.
I mean, she's probably in my opinion, a top guitarist of all time. And then
on
top of that, those songs are incredible. So Screaming Females and then The Beaches, I think they should be in there as well.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of fame now, but they were writing great music before. So, I think that those are 2 that I would have liked to see in there.
A lot of my 11s were things that did make it on there that I just couldn't cram them into 10. Like Tori was definitely in my 11s, as was, hold on, I wrote notes about this for you guys. I had a Joni Mitchell song in my 11s, which did go up pretty high. But again, most of the songs I picked were either stuff that spoke to me at a certain age or stuff that like I have a history with. And so My Old Man by Joni Mitchell is that line, and we don't need no piece of paper from City Hall. My wife and I used to sing that to each other in the months and weeks leading up to getting married in 2006, as a joke, because we just thought it was, and again, because we're both such Joni Mitchell fans. And then what was the other one on there? I put on there. Oh yeah, Rilo Kiley, a band that I absolutely was in love with for their first 3 records. Absolutely, I think are exquisite. And Philadelphia's own Hop Along. Fronted by Fran Quinlan, one of the most excellent singers, front people of that generation of Philadelphia rock. And the song I would have picked was Texas Funeral from their Painted Shut album, because it has the greatest refrain. None of this is going to happen to me within my lifetime. It's a song about some older person. Like, I think Fran said it in an interview once. They said a friend of theirs, like, older friend of theirs, like threw something on the ground, like threw a piece of trash on the ground or something. And Fran said to them, it's like, oh, you should pick that up. You know, we should make the planet nice. And the answer was, ain't none of that going to happen to me in my lifetime. You walk on. And the way that Fran sings it more and more, she just they just repeat it over and over and over again. And it's a brilliant song from a brilliant band and a brilliant record. And brilliant all along. They are getting back together for, it looks like, a couple of shows in support of gentleman Steve from the Gradwell House studio, who passed away not long ago. R.I.P. Steve. Gradwell House being a huge studio just looming in the legend of Philadelphia music. So there's a couple of huge benefit shows happening at Union Transfer with tons of great bands, and hop along around both nights, which I'm incredibly excited for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the biggest snubs to me, and is also my fault because it was an 11, so I didn't vote for it. So, like,
well, there you go.
It might have made it if it wasn't for you, Nate.
It's true. But the reason why, like, the reason I didn't vote for it wasn't that it didn't make the list. It's that I didn't even think it was eligible because I wasn't thinking outside the box, and it's my fault. But guys, what are we doing? Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You is a top 10 song, period, and stop. Maybe right behind Be My Baby. It's like, it goes like, Be My Baby, All I Want for Christmas Is You, All Too Well, Taylor's version. 10.
I do not understand the hate around All I Want for Christmas Is You, other than perhaps just the sheer overplayedness of it. But we could also we could name a dozen songs off the top of our heads that we think are overplayed.
I'm gonna say, look, I got to hear you guys talk about Last Christmas every single Christmas like it's a game, and we can't just enjoy All I Want for Christmas Is You.
All I Want for Christmas Is.
I'm with you, Nate. It's just a Christmas song. You only get to hear it for 30 days, and then it's over.
It's the landing. Relax. It's the landing on the 6 too. Like, if we want to get musical nerdy about this, there's that part in the refrain that lands on the 6, and like, you're not supposed to do that, except that she could do whatever the hell she wants.
I think we need to wrap on a music nerd moment right there. Thank you very much, Tim. Nate, why don't you tell people where they can catch you on the socials?
Absolutely. If you have a social, I'm probably there, and it is probably at Yo That's My Jawn. That includes Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, as long as it still has an infrastructure that continues to work. Threads, Blue Sky, Post, Spill, Spout Bubble.
You're
Bible.
Just making things up at this
It
point.
sounds like it, but I'm not. These are all things.
No one can validate these, Nate.
I can neither confirm nor
That's My
deny.
Jawn. You can find me somehow on there, or
and then That's My Jawn.
That's what I was just going to say. The easiest way to find it all, www.yothat'smyjawn.com. You can find everything there, including guest appearances on other podcasts. There's going to be a link to this there. You can find merchandise, a mailing list, socials, anything your heart desires.
And let's not forget.
And Twas the Jawn Before Christmas.
There we go. Bringing it all back to Mariah right there. Good
All
job.
I Want for Christmas Is You, December 23rd, 8 p.m.
That's a classic callback right there, Phil. You brought it there. Like, we should just pull the plug immediately right now and get out.
Except we got to promote your stuff, Dan, especially your 300th episode.
No, we do. 300th episode coming out January 16th. This week's episode, talking about great women songwriters and performers. I've had a few really great ones on over the last month or so. I had Emily Drinker on. She's on the show this week. What an amazing singer, performer, worker. She masterminding her whole situation, all that. And it's a great talk, not just about music too. We get into some life stuff too, which we had never, that's the longest she and I have ever talked in our lives. Just because we've known of you.
That might be a look in the mirror.
No, we've known each other for a while, but in this world of, music and gigs and stuff, you see each other, you pass each other like ships in the night. In fact, Phil, it was you dragging me out to that one night of Music Fest to see the Tisberries, and Emily was there, and that was the night that we finally just like looked each other in the eye and be like, we're doing this show. We're doing an episode. It's going to happen.
Nice. Fantastic.
And Ange Boca.
I'm glad I could be the.
You are. You're the
catalyst of
facilitator. And Ange Boca a couple weeks before that.
I'm gonna add that to my
yes,
name.
Ange Boca, killer singer, killer performer, just an amazing all-out singular human being, Ange Boca. So those are two of the recent great women songwriters, performers of Philadelphia that have been on recently. And you can get it all. Whatever social I'm on at 25 o'clock pod. I'm on the Instagram. I'm on the TikTok. I'm on the Blue Sky. It's me, Nate, the dude from Unlucky Mammals, and Ted Leo. That's who's on Blue Sky right now. It's a good crew, actually. I would like to have a dinner with those.
I'd have that
hang.
Right, yeah, I'd have that.
And fire up the microphone and just record it.
And then, of course, the website 25o'clockpod.com. Podcast is available anywhere you get podcasts. It's on Spotify right now for some reason. I didn't put it there, but it's there. I know, right? We've had this conversation before. I don't know how it ended up there. I didn't try and keep it off, but I didn't try and keep it on either. But there it is. It's there everywhere you can get it. Nearly 300 episodes of Philadelphia musicians, performances, talking. I do play.
And don't forget.
And Demonic Frosty.
Right.
I did,
but let's not forget January 16th,
episode 300. So y'all got some time. Y'all got some time to catch up.
To subscribe
on previous episodes.
I did forget to mention one other thing, very important, and I'm the dumbest person in the world that it even slipped my mind. I also produce another podcast that there will be a new episode out not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And that podcast is called Oops All Bards, and it is a Dungeons and Dragons RPG actual play podcast starring Ross, who's in the comment section. And I don't know why that even slipped my mind. But Ross and his wife, Jillian Ashley Blair Ivy, she's the DM and executive producer of this show. And it is fantastic. It's hilarious. It's what happens when 5 bards are the only adventurers left tasked to save the realm. And it's really fantastic. So make sure you check that out.
Well, Dan, Nate, and all the listeners of WXPN, the X-Bazennials, and Bruce and the entire crew over there at WXPN, thank you for putting on this amazing list, allowing us to have a wonderful chat about it. Thank you all for tuning in. And Dan, Nate, thanks for making this triple collabo happen. I hope we have additional topics to make this happen again in the future. This was so much fun.
We should be the post-game wrap-up for every 885 countdown. So same time next year, guys, or next time they do it.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band / 25 o'clock pod / Yo, That's My Jawn. We would like to sincerely thank Dan Drago and Nate Runkle for being the guest co-hosts here and really having a great deep dive into this list of 885 songs as voted on by the listeners of WXPN. Would just want to have you check out their shows, so 25 o'clock pod and Yo, That's My Jawn. You heard where to find them on the socials and their websites. Go check them out. If you like what you heard here, you're going to get more and more of that. And if you're a big fan of music discovery, that's what all 3 of us are about, in slightly different flavors, but the collective is all there for you to thoroughly enjoy. I'll include links in the show notes to all of the sites, the Spotify, now that it's there, it's mysteriously there. And definitely check out all of their special episodes that are coming up. As always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. You might have been introduced to 885 different favorite bands today, but at least hopefully there was one. And want to have you check out their information. And the big thing we always try and promote is going and checking out the live concerts, supporting these musicians by purchasing merch directly from them. It's really the only way to generate revenue for them, and it lets them know that you like what you're hearing and inspires them to do more of it and empowers them to do that as well. So hopefully we will see you at a live show soon. Please like, subscribe, and follow us for future episodes of Your Next Favorite Band.